Commander Zixtal's 6 eyes blinked in rapid succession, a clear sign of distress among his species. The holographic display before him showed readings that should have been impossible. The Xerian Death Zone, a region of space where no known life form could survive for more than 30 standard minutes, was showing signs of habitation. "Run the scans again," he ordered his navigation officer, Keelth. "Sir, I've run them 14 times. The readings are consistent." Keelth's crystalline skin flickered with nervous energy. "There's definitely a structure in the death zone, and it's growing." 3 cycles ago, the Galactic Federation had issued its most severe warning to the newest member species, humans. The death zone was a nebula saturated with exotic radiation that could dissolve molecular bonds in living tissue within minutes. Even their most advanced shielding could only protect a ship for a brief rescue operation. No one, absolutely no one, attempted to establish any kind of permanent presence there. Except, apparently, humans. "Open a communication channel," Zixtal commanded, his voice betraying his bewilderment. The main screen flickered to life, revealing a sight that made the entire bridge crew recoil. A human male looking remarkably relaxed sat in what appeared to be a folding chair. Behind him, impossible structures stretched across the deadly nebula. Domes, towers, and what looked suspiciously like recreational facilities. "Oh, hey there," the human said, waving casually. "You guys must be from the Federation. I'm Jake Morrison, and welcome to Camp Xerian." Zixtal's mandibles clicked involuntarily. "Human Morrison, you are in violation of Federation Safety Protocol 7749. The Xerian Death Zone is classified as uninhabitable. You must evacuate immediately." Jake chuckled, a sound that somehow seemed even more unsettling in this context. "Death Zone? Is that what you call this place? That's a bit dramatic, don't you think? Sure, the radiation levels are a bit spicy, but nothing a little ingenuity can't handle." "Spicy?" Keelth whispered, her voice barely audible. "Listen, Commander. Zixtal, is it? Why don't you come down and see what we've built? Fair warning, though you'll want to bring some serious radiation gear. This place will definitely give you a sunburn if you're not careful." Against every protocol in the Federation handbook, Zixtal found himself agreeing to the inspection. 2 hours later, enclosed in the most advanced protective suit the Federation could provide, he stepped onto the human installation. What he saw defied every principle of xenobiology he'd ever learned. The humans had built not just a survival outpost, but what could only be described as a thriving community. Gardens flourished under radiation-filtered domes, their plants somehow thriving in conditions that should have sterilized all organic matter. Children, actual human children, played in areas where his equipment still registered lethal radiation levels. "How?" was all Zixtal could manage. Jake, wearing nothing more than a light jacket and some kind of protective goggles, gestured around them. "Well, it took some trial and error, I'll admit. Lost a few good folks in the early days." His expression grew somber for a moment. "But humans were stubborn like that. When someone tells us something can't be done, we tend to take that as a challenge." He led Zixtal through the settlement, explaining as they walked. "First thing we did was study the radiation patterns. Turns out it's not random. There's a rhythm to it, like cosmic weather. Once we figured that out, we could predict the safe windows." They stopped at a massive structure that hummed with energy. "This is our radiation processor. Instead of just blocking the exotic particles, we capture and convert them. That power station over there? It's running entirely on what you folks call deadly radiation. We're generating enough energy to power half a solar system." Zixtal's instruments confirmed the impossible readings. "But the biological effects?" "Oh, those." Jake scratched his head. "Turns out low-level exposure actually triggered some interesting adaptations in our DNA repair mechanisms. Our medical team is documenting everything. Dr. Chen thinks we might have accidentally stumbled onto a longevity treatment." He grinned. "The same radiation that kills most species in minutes is apparently giving us longer, healthier lives." As they continued the tour, Zixtal met families who had been living in the death zone for over 2 years. Their children showed no signs of radiation sickness. Instead, they appeared healthier and more robust than baseline humans. The settlement had its own schools, medical facilities, and what Jake proudly called the galaxy's most extreme vacation resort. "We're already getting tourism requests," Jake explained as they passed a sign advertising radiation rafting adventures. Turns out adrenaline junkies from across the galaxy want to experience the Death Zone challenge. We've had to create a waiting list. By the time they returned to Jake's office, a comfortable space with windows offering a spectacular view of the swirling, deadly nebula, Zixtal's worldview had been thoroughly shattered. "Human Morrison," he said finally, "you do realize that what you've accomplished here is theoretically impossible." Jake leaned back in his chair, looking out at the thriving community he'd helped build in the heart of what the galaxy considered certain death. "Commander, humans have been doing the impossible for as long as we've existed. We walked out of Africa when we should have stayed in the trees. We crossed oceans on floating logs when we should have stayed on shore. We flew when we had no wings, went to space when we had no rockets worthy of the name." He turned back to Zixtal, his eyes bright with the same stubborn determination that had driven his species from cave dwellers to starfarers. "And when the universe gives us a death zone, we don't run away. We set up camp, invite our friends, and figure out how to make s'mores over exotic radiation." Zixtal left Camp Zerion 3 hours later, his reports already causing panic in Federation headquarters. But as his ship departed, he couldn't help but notice that Jake Morrison was already breaking ground on what the construction signs labeled as Phase 2 expansion. In the end, the Federation did the only sensible thing they could do. They officially reclassified the Zerion Death Zone as human territory and recommended that all other species maintain a safe distance. Not from the radiation, but from the humans who had decided to call it home.